just to start this off, thank you very much for coming on to my podcast, Coach JV. Lovely to speak to you finally. We've been trying to get this going for a long time since I think I only had like 1,000 followers when I first spoke to you. So that was a long time ago, maybe like 6 to 9 months. We tried to get a live together, actually, if I remember correctly, on TikTok, and we couldn't actually work out why that was
Yes.
happening. But I think at the time Donald Trump had banned TikTok in America, and we couldn't get the lives going. Was that? I think that was what
Yeah,
happened.
who knows? Yeah, it was someplace. It's gone by fast, man. That time has gone by fast. I was just talking about that this morning. Like we were doing a live this morning. And I'm like, I was telling somebody a couple months ago I started a new manifestation technique, and I said in November, I'm like, oh my God, that was a year ago. Like a year. November, I'm like, it's been a year. I'm like, holy.
You
So,
think time's going slowly, but all of it like merges together at the minute. So just to start this podcast off, I'd like to just ask you yourself, where are you from? A bit of a background check about yourself. Like, what did you do in early life? I'd like to go into a bit of that sort of stuff to go.
yeah, so I'm Coach JV. So I'm the top health, mindset, and crypto coach in the world. What you believe in your heart, you think in your mind will eventually become your words and become your reality. I always say if you can see it in your mind, eventually you can hold it right here in your hands. What you repeatedly do gets ingrained in your subconscious mind, and what gets ingrained in your subconscious mind becomes an unconscious activity. So I live in Mesa, Arizona. Interesting journey that I've been through. So about 16 years ago, I attempted suicide on December 18th, 2006. And I woke up to a book called The Secret, and just a very simple book, Thoughts Become Things. And so I went on this whole journey. At that point in my life, I had negative money in my account, couldn't take care of my 3-year-old daughter. I had lost everything, lost my business. And I just started to understand the power of the mind and thoughts. And so I just started to rebuild my whole subconscious mind 16 years ago. And 16 years later, I ended up getting a job at a bank, and I used all the manifestation techniques, and I moved up really fast in the executive ranks. 2 years, like 2 years. It was really fast. It was just under 3 years, 2 years, 7 months, 28 days. Became an executive at a bank, and unfortunately or fortunately, that's when I went through my great awakening when I was in the banking system. So I ended up going to a thing called CBA Executive Banking School, where you learn how to scale banks. And I have dyslexia, so my brain works a little different than people. Like my brain, I really struggle to learn things, and so I have to. My brain reverse engineers everything. So when I see something, I work backwards. I don't really know if that makes sense, but everything works backwards. So when I'm sitting in banking school, I had to really pay attention, and so there's a lot of very much smarter people than me there, and so they're you seem very easy to them, and so we got to where we funded our banks, and I'm like, well, where does this money come from? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, sorry, so I started studying the Federal Reserve, and I started going through the spiritual awakening while I was in corporate America, and lo and behold, I found myself actually sick to my stomach every day as I went to the bank, frauding people, basically, in my own opinion. This is my opinion only, but it's like the banking system's a Ponzi scheme, and I realized that I was part of the Ponzi scheme. And as I went through my awakening, I decided to walk away from my high-paid vice president job, August 2017, and I went on this journey to become a freedom warrior. And here we are, 3 years later, man. It's like life will never be the same. And so now, as I sit today, I'm financially free, own multiple companies, travel around the world teaching people cryptocurrency, mindset, subconscious mind programming, and just teach them how to get their shit together, man. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. I love that. So, um, going back to what you've just talked about then within your banking experience, can you talk to me a bit about what you did in that banking role, like what your experience was of that? You said about thinking you were frauding people. Could you go into that a little bit more, and how that's affected what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I just noticed in the banking system. So I was on the retail side in the
Hmm.
retail bank. So we dealt with customers coming into the branches and banks, and I actually was in a bank that went through a big scandal. There was a big banking scandal going on, and a lot of banks went through around the same time. So we had the financial collapse of 2008, and then a lot of the retail banks went through a big scandal in regards to how they were handling customers and checking accounts, and the way that they measured the sales results and things like that. Basically, there was a really monstrous sales culture in the banking system. And the sales culture was not designed around helping people, it was designed around helping the bank and their profits, right? And so, and those profits were driven into the stock market, which, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, those drove up the stock prices, right? And so, I just realized there was something weird about it. The way we helped our customers, we weren't really providing financial education. We were just providing an opportunity for them to get in debt and be stuck in a debt cycle and a trap. And so that's when I really started to awaken to that. And I really didn't understand what my awakening was. It was a higher power guiding me through this. I felt this intuitive tug that I had to start moving towards this feeling in my body. But at the same time, let me back up, because what I was going through was an awakening in my own life. So I was, starting to fast, doing high intensity training. I used to be a bodybuilder, but I went into a different style of training, high intensity training, which was releasing massive amounts of dopamine into my brain. I started to think differently. I started to listen to like Joe Rogan, listening to different alternative types of media. And I stopped listening to the news. And then my brain just opened up. I'm like, this doesn't seem right. And so I started following the tug, and I really didn't know truly how to manage my own finances, to be honest with you. Isn't that weird? I was an executive at a bank, and I didn't really know how to manage money. I just knew that how money worked in the indoctrination system. And so I saw it. I say, like, for example, there was an example of this was one that really got to me. It was, we had a single mom. It was at one of our branches. She had tons of overdraft fees, and our overdraft rules had changed quite a bit. And she was trying to get her a fees overdraft. And my branch manager had to call me for approval. I'm like, you're a branch manager, you're running a bank. Like, shouldn't you be able to approve that? But we had this, like, why would you need an approval to reverse a young lady's overdraft fees? If you look at her account, she's now out partying. She's trying to buy diapers for her kid. She overdrafted a couple times, and she has, her account's negative. She can't even feed her kids. And we're needing to call an executive to get that approval. I'm like, our system is really, really messed up. So I didn't know that I was going to be providing financial education and freedom to people, but God, omnipresence, whatever you believe in, I believe in God, guided me to this point. And so that's where the awakening came for me, is just understanding how the money system works and how the bank system works. Basically, if we were doing what banks are doing, we'd be in jail. Put it that way.
Yeah, I do feel that that's crazy. And the more, like, I've learned in my financial career, if you want to call it that, or even awakening is just as good a word, like, from what I feel like I've shown myself in these last few years. It's just obscene what is going on behind the scenes, and that's what got me into crypto, or one of the reasons I got into crypto, like a few reasons. But I want to get more into crypto a little bit later. So another thing that I wanted to touch on, and you've kind of touched on it already, is, and something that I really respect from you, is that you talk about mental health quite openly, and I think that that's good for two reasons, both one coming from a male, and two coming from someone of an influential position. I don't think those two things are often combined. So I want to go from, you talked in the introduction about how you thought about committing suicide once. I want to go from there and talk about, from your lowest point, how did you recover from that, and what did anything really come through that helped you do that?
Yeah, man. Wow. It's, and I always tell people, I'm very open about this, maybe I had an advantage because I hit rock bottom. I mean, I really had nowhere else to go. I one of the most selfish acts I could do. I had a 3-year-old daughter when I attempted suicide. So, very selfish act. I understand how serious mental health is, right? I mean, it was, I had an opiate addiction, just to be very clear. I had an injury as a bodybuilder, started taking some opiates I was a clean cut dude, started taking, so just to kind of step into that realm, because opiate abuse is such a massive thing right now. It's massive in America. And so I was a clean cut guy. I took one Vicodin, and it actually gave me this feeling of self-confidence. It was wild. And I was a very insecure guy during that time. And it turned into 1, became 2, 2 became 3. Next thing you know, 3 years later, I'm a full-blown drug addict and junkie. And so maybe I had an advantage because I was I woke up from an attempted suicide. I'm like, holy crap. And so all I had was to go up, right? And so what I did was I started to understand how the brain worked at a very deep level. Because when you're a drug addict, or you hit rock bottom, or you're deep in depression, you really can't see the light. I mean, you can't see it. So you think, you're just trying to survive on a daily basis, right? And so what I really started to realize is that presence, right, is a gift. And so I just worked to start to be as present as I could. And so, and every single moment, especially with my daughter was a lifesaver for me, as I would just be present with her, man. We'd go to the park, and it was probably, advantage. I was completely broke. She didn't know it at the time, but I would spend all day at the park with her because that's all I had the money to do, right? We'd get a little bit to eat. We'd stay at the park. And it was an interesting moment with my 3-year-old daughter. Before I had committed suicide, I had a business. We were doing very well. We go to Disneyland, do all that stuff. And one day we're sitting in our apartment. I had nothing left in my apartment. I had sold everything. I was getting evicted. And she looked up at me as a 3-year-old little girl and said, "Dad, I like you a lot better now." And it was really interesting. I get chills every time I say that, because what she realized is she just wanted my attention. She just wanted me to be present with her. She didn't care about the presents I was buying her. Mm-hmm. She cared about my presence. And so that moment in time, that little girl, she's 17 now, changed my life. And so I realized how important presence is. And so I brought that into my everyday life as an executive. And I really believe that's why I moved up so fast and why I beat people with college degrees and people who had master's degrees and had way more experience. Because when I was with my team members at the bank, I was present. I was present with them. I cared about them. I loved them. I appreciated them. When I sat with a customer across from me, I really appreciated it. I stayed present. Now that I'm here with you, I'm present with you. Nothing else exists. And I think that I know that's what's missing in our world is that we have all this technology around us now. You and I are talking on a Zoom or Google, right? Mm-hmm. And so we've built this ecosystem around us that pulls us so far out of alignment of who we are as human beings. And we're blaming all these people for the Travis Scott and all this stuff going on. But what's happening in the world is there's just too much of a good thing, right? So we all need to come back to that presence. And so mental health is a very serious thing. But in order for someone to get back to themselves, right, you have to be in silence. You have to sit. You have to re-ground yourself. Just like anything, like a grounding for electricity, you have to get grounded back to nature. And I think that's the biggest battle we're going to have as human beings as we go into this new world, the metaverse. And you and I are investing in that and growing into the metaverse and all that stuff. Is how do we stay grounded, right? So that's the biggest thing for me is like I really studied the brain. So if anybody's having mental health issues, study the brain. Look at Dr. Joe Dispenza, Eckhart Tolle, and understand that it is possible though. That's the thing. No matter how bad your circumstances, it is possible to recover. It really, really is possible.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that like I've also been in a similar position to where you were, and I just wanted your take on it because you've got a lot more experience on life than I have. I'm 28 years old, but I've probably only for a year and a half been in like a much better place than I was. But for me, when I hit rock bottom, I didn't even realize, well, I did at the time, like everything just seemed grey. It was grey for me. Everything was grey. Nothing was fun. Nothing wasn't fun. Everything was just the same thing every day. I didn't even want to get out of bed. Didn't want to do anything. Just didn't even want to be here at one point. And then after that, I just decided to like focus on something but the main thing that I wanted to get across from this point is that the only thing that changed for me is just in my head. Like everything's perspective for me. Like everything before that was this is wrong, that's wrong. And then I started to try and pick up on the things, and it is really, really tough at the time, but I just started to try and pick on things that I liked to do or that I enjoyed. And then those little things every day, just one thing, then it turned to two things, then it turned to three, then to 4 to 5 to 6. And then you've got goals and you've got little things that you're doing along the way. And that's how I built my way out of that headspace.
Yes.
So, sorry, go on.
You talked about headspace, right? So one thing we talked about on the live this morning is one thing that changed. Reason why I said, remember we were talking about, I was like, November, it went by like that. So this year went by so fast. And so last November, and I've been doing manifestation for 15 years up until the point when I switched this. What I started doing is I started asking my brain a question, because your subconscious mind, so you have 5% is your conscious, 95% is your subconscious, right? Your subconscious mind is just a very, very servant thing. It just serves you. That's all it does. So when you're in depression, you're asking, why is my life this way? Why? And we're asking these questions of it. And what it does is it continues to show you exactly why. So what I did was I started asking my brain a question. So what are the steps to 1 million a month in income? All you have to do is ask a question. That's it. Your subconscious mind has to come up with a solution. That's science. So if you're asking so like, for example, someone, their tire goes flat, right? And they're like, why does this always happen to me? Next thing you know, boom, they spill coffee on their shirt. Oh my gosh. And they keep asking their brain this question, and their brain's like, okay, I'm just going to keep showing you. I'm just going to keep showing you. And at some point you got to say enough is enough. I got to get my shit together and start asking. So what are the steps to feel happy today? Just ask it, and then be like, for example, the God says, I feed the birds. Like he feeds the birds, he's going to feed you. Like you just have to be present in that. And that's what I was saying about the world is like the pendulum's just too far over to the other side. It always, everything.
Oh no, I've lost you.
Right. There's also too much of a good thing too. Like we're too much far on this left hemisphere of the brain. The universe, God, omnipresence, whatever you believe in, is trying to pull us back to the equilibrium. So that's what you're seeing is this push and pull with left and right, up, down, and all that.
Yeah, no, I'm completely agree with that. And I think that one extra thing before I go on to the next topic is something that helped me specifically. It's just like positive reinforcement. So just telling yourself things that you like about yourself as well. Don't think people do that enough. You comparing yourself to too many things online all the time. And I think that one easy step for me mentally is just saying, even if it's just a small thing, like say if you say, oh, I appreciate that this morning that you got up and made your own bed, or whatever it might be, a tiny little thing, or you made yourself breakfast, or you drank a glass of water before a certain time, or something like that. Just to something easy like that. So anyone who's at an absolute low and is looking for at least a start, just look at one little tiny thing in yourself that you like. That's one thing that I'd say. So a question for you about cryptocurrency then, the first one. When did you first learn about cryptocurrency, and what did you first hear about? What got you into this game?
Great question. So people think I've been in crypto for a long time. I haven't been in crypto that long. So it's only been about, I keep saying 2 years, about 2 years. I think it was 2019. Don't quote me on this, but it was back into 2019. So remember, I'm an ex-banker, right? So I was building my company, which is the Warrior Academy, which we were just mindset and health, right? And so somebody comes walking into our academy in 2019. Gosh, it was 3 years ago. So comes walking in and says, "Have you ever?" And so I saw the Tika Tori 5 coins to 5 million that popped up on my feed, and so I jumped into that. And I was still, we're as bankers, you're against cryptocurrency. Like you're like we were taught to be against cryptocurrency. It's a fraud, right? So I still had that subconscious mind programming in my head. And so I'm an entrepreneur, and then somebody comes walking in and says, "Have you heard of this XRP?" And I'm like, "No, what is it?" So this guy's name was Jay Bills, introduced me to it, and I dove into it, and I'm like, holy shit. If I would have had this technology or this type of infrastructure in my banking system, so when I went through banking school, I could have won the whole SIM model. I could have won the whole SIM. And I'm like, why is this not up and running in all banks? And so I went deep into XRP, and then I found XLM, and I started going deep into it. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? Like I didn't really make sense to me because I understood how swift. I understand the banking system at a very deep level, and I'm like, this makes no sense because banks are in trouble right now. Banks are in big trouble right now with the Basel III requirements, with interest rates going to be going up. All their profit margins are being squeezed. I'm like, if I was a bank, I would have XRP running in my system right now, and I'd become the best at customer service, change my marketing scheme, custody cryptocurrency. Well, now I'm telling you 3 years later knowledge, but so that's how I was introduced to it. And I just went down the rabbit hole. I'm like, this is what God guided me to, the freedom. I felt like I was divinely guided. I jumped right in, started investing. I followed the M1 money reports. I just did my own little technical analysis. Every time they pump money into the economy, I would see the market go up in crypto, and then I would see it go down. I'd buy the dip, and I would sell the top. I bought the dip, and a couple thousand it happened fast, really fast. And then all of a sudden the C word comes and shuts our business down, man. We took forever to build our business. We were thriving, 188 clients. We're doing well. We're super excited, finally made it. And then all of a sudden C word shuts our physical. We have a physical academy, and they shut our business down. I'm like, what? I was so pissed. I'm like, okay. That's when my whole life changed because they took everything from me again, right? It's the third time in my life I've lost everything. I'm freaking, at this point, I'm like 42 years old. And I'm like, I've gotten divorced through this process. I've lost all, people around me because I still believed in my business. I'm like, I'm not giving up. And so they shut us down. And one day we're sitting here, me and my business partner, Kev, we're sitting here, and he walks in one day, he goes, "You realize we have everything we need?" And we both just sat here and had this conversation. And mind you, we're out of money. And now I have my crypto portfolio, thank God, because that's what saved me. And so I'm sitting here, and he's like, "Do you realize we have everything we need?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "There's fruit trees out there. If we need to eat, we can go eat fruit trees. And if we go to Starbucks, they have to give us water in Arizona. It's hot. So if we go to a store, they have to give us water legally." And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, your belief in there is no scarcity. It's only your belief in it. So I was like, I'm the richest man in the world. I'm the top health and mindset coach in the world. And I started verbalizing the stuff on my podcast. I started speaking into existence. And then I'm like, holy crap, like I don't need anything. I have everything I need. And all of a sudden, so we spent $30,000 on camera equipment 3 years earlier that failed 5 times. Our program failed 5 times. We hit the switch. We turned the camera systems on. We go online. And next thing you know, now we've had 3,500 warriors go through our Warrior Academy. It was like, God is just like, so that was my point of like, just keep going, keep pushing. And then I found what I'm supposed to do. I went through banking. I hated banking. I hated it. I went through banking to learn the banking system, to be able to teach people the new system of banking. And I was like, oh, okay, God, that's why you put me in banking. That's why I moved up so quickly. That's why it was all divinely directed. And I think people, this goes back to depression, right? If you're in depression, I'm not going to say that God gave you the depression. What I'm going to tell you is it's a season and a reason, and it's happening for you, not against you. So if you can take the depression you're going through and really learn from it, you can become one of the most powerful human beings in the world. Because a lot of people who hit rock bottom become some of the most successful people. So, but that's how it's to it. XRP, somebody walked in here.
Yeah, no, I completely am on that same path in a way. Like I also discovered meditation when I was at my lowest point, and I've never been a spiritual person or a religious person, but one thing I do believe since meditating is that there is something out there that there's something more than what I can comprehend. Because since I started meditating, and again, it is with the mindset shift of that I believe in myself, that I believe I can do anything I want, because now I do believe I can do anything I want, and the only thing that changed is just that my mindset changed, and now all of a sudden you've got, well, like I'm on a call with you, like all these sorts of things just happen like one after another. Like my investments start coming good, and my TikTok channel starts blowing up, and I didn't even have TikTok before. I didn't even like TikTok, and so how do these things happen? And it all like links together, and I don't know whether it's your mindset or whether there's something else out there. But as soon as I started meditating and I was in that point and I started to do these little things like we talked about, everything started to change. So from that then, a little question for you then is, what is your daily routine now?
Great question. Okay, so it's going to go into what you just said. So what's happening with both you and I, the why we're sitting here, is everything is just energy. Everything. So you don't have to believe in God or be spiritual or anything, but everything is energy. Everything is energy. This cup is, supposed to be, it's a solid cup. It's not solid. It's compressed molecules, right? So everything is energy and vibration, whether you believe in God or not, right? Everybody has a higher consciousness. And so the reason why you and I are sitting here today is, and it's going to go into my daily routine, I promise. The reason why we're sitting here today is because our vibrational level inside of us has met. That's all it is. It's just like, and so one of us, something could happen to us, we could fall off the wagon, right? And then we'll just start to attract those people at that level of vibration. That's all it is. So we're just all vibrating at a certain level, which goes into my daily routine. So my daily routine is designed to keep my vibration as high as humanly possible. And so what I do is I work to keep my vibration high. So I wake up at 2:50 every single morning. I don't suggest that, but it's just my routine and how I do it. So when I wake up at 2:50, the first thing I do is I loosen up my spine and I do my breathing technique. So I do Wim Hof breathing. So first thing I do is I don't look at my phone. I go right into my breathing technique. So really deep breaths. I decompress my spine, get my body ready, go to the bathroom like everybody else. But everything is very intentional. When I'm going to the bathroom, I'm so happy and grateful for the money that comes to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a continuous basis. Then from there, I go to the gym. I train. I always start my day with a high intensity workout. So I do a little bit of weightlifting. I do my high intensity workout. Then I go right into my YouTube video. So I do my first YouTube video about 4:15 in the morning. I also have a daily podcast that I do as well. And then we go right into our busy day. So our day is usually taken up by lots of interviews, lots of research, I have lots of businesses, so lots of business meetings. And then around 12 o'clock, around 2 o'clock, I always cut out and I go spend time with my son and daughter. That's very, very important to me. I've designed my life for absolute freedom. So I pick my son up at school. I spend 2 till about 6 o'clock with my son, and then I do his homework with him and stuff. And then 6 o'clock, I get right back into research, business meetings, things like that. But before bed is my most important time. So I always read a book. I start to shut things down. So I start to shut my brain down and start to slow down. So about an hour before, I shut off all work. I read a book or some type of motivation thing. And every night I sleep, I do subconscious mind programming. So I'd highly recommend it. I listen to the channel I Am Money Magnet every single night while I sleep. So the reason why I bring that, my routine, I fast every day till at least noon every day too. So my routine is to keep my vibration as high as humanly possible every single day. The reason why is because the higher level of vibration I can keep, the higher level of people I will attract. And that's basically my daily routine on every single day. On the weekends, I spend time with my kids, but I work every day. We have quite a few companies, and so just lots of meetings, but I actually live I call it the superhero life, man. I live a superhero life. I don't have to do any of this. I get to do all this. I'm not tied to anything. So
yeah, that's awesome, and what a perspective to have on the way that you live each day. So my next question kind of ties into that. So I'm just going to it's going to switch gears a little bit now. I've got 2 random questions, and then the rest are like crypto questions, and then we've got a couple from questions from the community, and then a couple of speed questions at the end just to finish off. All right.
Cool.
So we're going to go into, who was your biggest idol growing up? Did you have an idol that you looked up to?
Hmm. It's gonna be weird. Nobody.
Nobody.
I know this is so weird. I thought about this. Is weird that you asked me that. I was just talking to somebody about this last week. I didn't look up to anybody, man. So growing up is really weird. So I just figured out recently, like why. So as a kid, I always wondered, like, I never was good at sports. I wasn't a good athlete. I never really excelled at things, I guess, per se, as in the world's eyes. Like I wasn't like a star athlete. I didn't get the girls and all that stuff. But I never really, like, people had like they looked up to Joe Montana or this person or like a star. And I just, for some reason, I'm like, why don't I feel that way about people, right? And I'm somebody who is very fond of my heart, and I love and look up to my mom. I mean, but like what I mean is like an idol of nothing. And then I realized what it was, man, because when I started to really understand the life of Jesus is a person who I don't idolize, but I very, very highly respect. And so I don't really, that's who I look up to, would be Jesus, the life of Jesus. And that's who I want to model as close as possible. I'm not saying I'm Jesus. I'm not saying, but that's who I would like to model as close as humanly possible. And until I found and understood the life of Jesus, not religion for me, it's not religion for me, it's the life of Jesus that I really respect. And maybe that's why it took me so long to find somebody, but it was like, that's who I really aspire to be like, is to be like Jesus. And I'm just being honest, and living that type of life and leaving that type of legacy of somebody who lived not a perfect life. I'm not saying I'm living a perfect life, but to be that type of impact on people. And that may sound super arrogant, but I believe I am the greatest of all time. And I believe that every single person should believe that about themselves, because we all have different fingerprint, different DNA. And I've said that on my social media, and people smash me for saying that I'm the greatest of all time. I'm like, why wouldn't we believe we're the greatest of all time? Think about that for just a moment. Jesus says, isn't it written that you're kings? Like, we're all made in the likeness of image of a higher power, I guess. And it's like, so I always was very confused about that, because I always felt special when I was a kid. I did. I always felt special when I was a kid, but it took me a long time to mature up until like 42 years old to get my shit together. But finally, when I did, I'm like, wow, I believe you're the greatest of all time. I mean, look what you're doing. You're doing remarkable things. I've seen you grow. And it's like, what I work to do is to get people to find that in them, right? Because you have a different fingerprint than me, different DNA. Why can't we all be the greatest of all time? And so what we think is there's this system that's been created that if you have more money than me, you're more valuable than me. You have a nicer car than me. So we created this value system, but we as humans created this. It's our fault, right? And so we actually decided to live in this value system. So that's, I know that may sound weird when I say that to people, like, you didn't look up to anybody. I'm like, I didn't. I really didn't. I couldn't find anybody to look up to until I found Jesus, like the life. And I'm not talking religion. I'm not part of any religion or anything like that. I'm a spiritual guy, I guess. I don't even know what that means. I just wake up every day to be a good person, but I love the principles that he teaches, and the pretty simple stuff, like don't sleep with your neighbor, right? Don't steal from your neighbor. Don't murder, like the Proverbs, right? So that's who I really would, I don't want to use the word idolize, but I look up to. So when I was a kid, there was nobody I really looked up to.
No, I like that, and I understand what you're talking about in terms of like material possessions and those sorts of things. I'm very much on that page, and I don't really understand how we've, as a society, got to the place that we are in terms of like respecting or having more of a drive to earn material possessions than have happiness and freedom in life. That they're things that I really am opposed to. I want happiness and freedom, and the only reason I'm after material possessions, or not even material possessions, the only reason I'm after creating value is just so I can buy myself more freedom, and I want to teach more people to do that, and that's where I want to go long term.
One thing I'll share with you too, like, there's nothing wrong with, like, for example, I might buy a Lamborghini. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, and the thing is, when you say you're spiritual, or you're this, long-haired hippie dude like me, if I buy a Lamborghini, people are going to smash me on social media and be like, oh, he's all about the money. No, I want a Lamborghini. They're freaking nice. Somebody took the time to build that. Somebody who created that and took the time and the stitching, and like, that's really creation right there. It's beautiful creation. Now, the old me would buy the Lamborghini to make sure that people are looking at me. The new me would buy the Lamborghini because of the beautiful creation. Big difference. It's always the intention, right? It's always the intention behind, like, I want a private plane. Why? Because I don't want to have to deal with all the crap going on when I fly. I want to be able to fly my family and my team around on a private plane. There's nothing wrong with that. I think people get so caught up in like, oh, if you have to be one way. Like, so for example, you can't be a super wealthy hippie dude like me, right? Why can't you have both? Like, this is all, we're all trustees of this land, right? And so the private plane was created by somebody. It provided jobs for people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the person who built the Lamborghini, that people work at the factory, people were able to feed their families with that. And so I think people get so caught up in identifying with this or that, you know?
Yeah. No, I do agree with that. So, next question. Again, it's a bit off the ball from that last one. What has been the biggest challenge you've faced since getting into crypto and starting your Warrior Academy? I know you've talked already about how it like kind of collapsed last time. I'm talking about this year when you've had your most successful year. What has been the biggest challenge you faced this year?
Oh, wow. Oh, great question. So this year with our biggest success, I mean, we're growing by 30 warriors a day. So it's like, it's keeping the personal touch with growing as fast as we're growing. And so the biggest thing is trying to scale like that. That's our biggest issue we're running into, because everybody who works for our Warrior Academy has been through our Warrior Academy. So they're all hired from within. And so keeping that, so we just had a meeting on Friday about this. We have to move into a type of a corporation structure, which is my biggest fear. So we're not going to call it a corporation. It's becoming an organization that brings freedom to the people, right? But so corporate is like a culture, right? We're an organization. And so our biggest thing is scaling and keeping that personal feel with people. And so how we've overcome that is having a lot of personal touches within our academy. We have like 5 crypto calls during the week. We have connection calls. We have leadership calls. We have people who have gone through the academy that are leaders and coaches within our academy. So that's my biggest fear. That's something that I'm learning how to manage through that resistance of growing too big where the personal connection's not there.
Sure.
So that's, and then scaling too is getting over the fear of, can it continue? Like, can you continue to scale like this and keep control of it, I guess? So yeah, so that's the biggest issue. Our other issue was trying to survive and keep the business open. Now we have the opposite problem. So
Yeah, well, I think it's a better problem to have now.
yeah. So, and that's one thing I do want to talk about, that is, don't have fear of success. That's a true fear, because once you get to that point, it's like, okay, can we maintain? Absolutely, you can maintain it. You obviously deserve it because you're getting it. It's just like, one thing I'll share with people too is, like, for you, as you're growing so fast, is that we got to stop worrying about pleasing people, man. That's the biggest thing. Is like, so when I was struggling, oh, hooray, what a hard, that everybody loved me when I was struggling. When I was struggling, now that I'm succeeding, if I mention anything about money, or I mention anything about making 10 grand a day, it's like people are like, oh, he's an asshole, he's all about money now. It's like, so don't worry about those people. Like, they're going to cheer for you when you're down, but when you succeed, a lot of people are going to disappear, which is unfortunate. Just don't change who you are, right? I always say, in the process of becoming a millionaire, what's more important is who you become, right? So I'm the exact same guy, we just have more money. That's all it is, right? And so, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, so people, when they start to succeed, people change around you. They just do. They cheer for you when you're down, but when you succeed, you're going to see who your real friends are.
Yeah, I think I've already started to start that journey. I've basically, I don't know if this is good or bad, or even I should talk about this on YouTube, because a lot of people might see this, but I've just cut off a lot of the people that didn't used to add positivity to my life. And like,
Yeah.
I don't dislike them, I don't hate any of them. I just only want people in and around me who I support, and then they support me, and then that's it going forward. And I want that forever. If people want to come into my life, that's great, but we've got to help each other. I want to help you, and I want you to want the best for me too.
Yeah, and there should be a mutual value exchange. I mean, that's the way I look at my life. So, for example, it's like, and you're probably seeing it, like, people all the time want to work with me now, and it's like, I'm there. There needs to be a mutual value exchange, right? And I'm here to help anybody that really wants help. I want to work with people who are really going to put in the work, because everybody wants a silver bullet, and there is no silver bullet. It's like, it took me, I think we were talking about this before. So I didn't see success until 850 podcasts, 17,000 social media posts, and 1,200 videos. I mean, that was a long time. And I spent my whole 401k. I spent all my money building my business. I lost my money twice. I got divorced through the process. I had to live with my parents for a little while. I had to move back in with them. And I was like, no, I am not going to stop. And now that I'm seeing, now it gets even more difficult when you start to succeed, because you're like, because you get comfortable. I got a nice place now. My kids are comfortable. And so that's why I live my life the way that I do. I put myself in so much discomfort on a daily basis. So the key to this, though, is when you start to succeed, is not overwhelming yourself, but always make sure you're building. Always make sure you're starting new projects. Put that pressure on yourself, because it's easy to get comfortable. And once you get comfortable, man, your clients are going to feel it. Like our clients, our warriors, our family wants us to continue to give them new information and growth. So I think that's the biggest thing that I challenge people, is make yourself uncomfortable daily. Like I daily make myself uncomfortable.
And I want to just add one thing into this conversation. You probably thought about it already, but just from going what you've talked about, have you ever thought about creating like a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization? Do you know what they are? Or
I don't even know what that is. Wow.
It's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it in like financial terms, but it's kind of like a conglomerate, like where you kind of start a company ish, but everyone in the company owns equal asset amount, like an amount of the company, and you buy in. So say like, let's say me and you started a DAO, and we put 5,000 USD in each. We both have equal share to the treasury, and then if everyone else wanted to join, they also had to put $5,000 in each when they joined, and then anyone can do whatever they like inside the DAO, but it just gets voted on as like a communal, and then it's basically like a community of people with a similar mindset who have a similar part of like a treasury behind them, and then you can use that between you to go and look at different areas. In fact, I did an interview with an NFT artist who works for Bankless DAO, which is like one of the biggest DAOs around at the minute. They have like 90,000 members. I think it'd be quite interesting as a concept for you with what you're doing with your Warrior Academy to look into that. Like, hopefully that can add some value to you, because I haven't really described it very well there. But
it makes sense. It's kind of like a community like a fundraising kind of.
Yeah.
Like you're raising. Yeah, it's like we're looking into tokenizing our academy, where people could buy into the academy almost, because it reminds me of so like I'm an ex-banker, right? So it reminds me of the stock exchange. Like you're basically tokenizing your business and taking it public, so people can actually invest in the academy, because the academy is like, we have some crazy plans with the academy, like wild. I mean, it's growing super fast, but our system is there's nothing like our system. I haven't found anything like it. In our academy, you're working out, nutrition, subconscious mind programming, goal setting, vision board creation, cryptocurrency. I bring my wealth team on there to show people what I'm doing with my MPI, the insurance, silver, all that stuff. It's like an ecosystem to get your shit together. Basically, that's what it is. It's like, okay, so and it's all the black sheep coming together and going, okay, like I have a community of people I can communicate with. And we are, it basically, that's what the biggest thing, it's a community. That's what it is. It's obviously a membership program, but we're constantly adding value of like-minded people. We call ourselves the uncommon 1%, but that's how I see tokenization coming into our academy, is where people can buy into it.
Sure. That's awesome. I definitely would say just have a little look into DAOs after this call if you get a chance. Right, so now we're going to get into crypto questions. It's just going to be specifically some crypto stuff. Obviously, I want some of this content so I can just clip it into bits for TikTok as well. So I'm just going to start with, and this is all complete speculation, your opinion, nothing else. Where do you personally speculate the top of this ballroom will be, and do you have a vision on that or not?
I do, yeah. So I don't. So people around me and my team think around December, January. So some high level technical analysis people. So my thing is, I feel the same way. I think it's going to be around December, January is going to be the top of the bull market, and it's going to come collapsing down, right? But anywhere from 80 to 90% from the all-time highs. But what I do is I set a very strict exit strategy. I don't follow market cycles. I just follow price points. That's all I do. And so when I'm exiting 50% of my portfolio by setting price targets going up, so I'm non-emotional. So I usually do better than a lot of people in the crypto space around me, because I have zero attachment and zero emotional attachment to my crypto portfolio. It's all numbers to me. So like, does that make sense? So I ladder up as I go out. And so like at the certain top point, if it doesn't reach that, I just keep it in my portfolio. So I think December, January, I'm keeping 50% just in case there's a super cycle in there. I still think it's going to follow the same market cycle. People think because of the retail adoption and all that stuff, we're not even close. We're not even close to the retail adoption. The masses aren't even awakened to cryptocurrency yet. Now that it's getting into fast food restaurants, like with Burger King and stuff like that, yeah, they're going to awaken to it. But I think people think that the masses are ready to come in. They're not even close. Like, and so I think we're going to have another, Crypto Mason says it, like we're one bear market away from retirement, so this next bear market for people is going to be so important.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I'm pretty similar with my views on that. I have my exit plans laddered as well, and about 65% I'm looking to drop this cycle. Okay, so next question, and this is one that a community member asked me, but I also wanted to ask you as well. Do you hold any NFTs?
I do. Yep. So I have the gambling apes. So like actual physical NFTs. So the gambling apes, I'm just getting into the NFT world and understanding it. We actually brought an expert onto our team, NFT Tones. You can check them out. So I hold the gambling apes, and then I have Chillin' Chameleons, which is a project for helping like the ocean, clean up the oceans in Hawaii. So I have that. So those are the three that I have physical NFTs.
Cool. And then we touched on this a tiny little bit, but I saw some pictures on your Instagram, like looking like Metaversey. So, what are your top Metaverse picks, and why? Do you have anything that you're really looking at in terms of the Metaverse, or are you just interested in it as a whole?
Okay, so I'm just interested. So I'm not. So like I'll share with you the way that I operate. So I'm like I'm a investor, right? So like for example, like Warren Buffett is his top investment's Apple, right? He doesn't know how the phone works, right? But he knows it's a good investment. So what we did is we actually started a company, and we'll be releasing this very soon. It's called the Phoenix Asset Management Group. And so we actually developed a company, brought on NFT experts. And so what we're doing is we're actually building in the metaverse. And so my team is buying nodes. Okay. So we're doing nodes, we're doing NFTs, and then we're doing land in the metaverse. And so I don't have any specific things I'm gonna throw out there right now because I don't know, but we're actually building. We're really, really bullish because the way they explained it to me, right? So I'm an investor. Like I call myself a Warren Buffett style investor in cryptocurrency. That's what I call myself, right? And so I looked at an opportunity and said, okay, we have the opportunity. You and I have the opportunity, this whole community, to become the new Bilderbergs. Like we can literally take over the metaverse in regards to real estate, the whole ecosystem. And so the way that I look at it on Earth, like, so if you were doing this on Earth, you're the person buying up all the apartment complexes, you're buying up the casinos, you're buying up the stuff, and then you're buying the electric company that actually keeps it all running, right? So what we're doing is we're buying up the nodes that actually run it. We're buying up they're picking the NFTs in the marketplace, and then we're going to be buying up the real estate. So I don't have any specific projects yet, but we're going to be announcing some stuff coming up. So I'm just the person that's like the investor that gets the experts to do it, if that makes sense.
No, sure, that's awesome, and I really respect that mindset because like my dad is an investor in cryptocurrency, and he's learning more about crypto now. But we both have the argument that I don't need to understand it on the same level as a developer to understand that it's still going to impact my future and where I think that it's going to go. So I do have a bit of a tech background, but not like I don't understand it to the level of someone like Quincy Jones, for example. So
right, like my expertise is the banking, like XRP, XLM, like so I know my lane. I'm an expert in the banking sector, the financial sector, the cross-border payments, the distributed ledger technology. Like that stuff is my expertise. I'm not going to try to become an expert in NFTs or Metaverse, but I hired experts. We brought people into our team that are experts, and I trust their judgment. And so I'll be making, like, for example, I'm in Mana. I have Mana. I have Engine. I got into those a long time ago, and just because of the understanding of just the small understanding of what was coming. So
yeah, sure, and that's awesome. Okay, so. Do you think, okay, this is kind of a banking question then, do you think we'll have a flip or a change in the world reserve currency? And if so, do you think it'll be another fiat, or do you think it'll be a crypto or something completely different?
The world reserve currency, that's going to be interesting. So the whole narrative has been that China is going to become the new world's reserve currency. I think what they would like to see is one currency, right? And so I think there might be a change. I don't think it's going to flip to China. I think it's just going to be the way that we do our monetary system. And so I think all countries are going to have their own CBDCs, and there's going to be one bridge currency that's going to move those across the rails. I don't think we're going to see it for a while, though. I don't think we're going to see it for a while. I think everybody thinks, I keep hearing everybody say, oh, they're going to flip a switch and we're going to be in the quantum financial system. Coming from the banking sector, it doesn't work that way. These banks are so far behind in regards to switching their systems over. And that's why I think it's going to be XRP, man. I really, really do. Here's why. This is my facts, figures, numbers, logic, right? So the banks they're in a really tough position right now. So you got the Basel III, which Basel III makes banks hold gold reserves on assets, not paper gold, to have riskier assets, right? Riskier assets is where they make their profit margin. We got tapering going on, which is going to raise interest rates in the future. They said they're not going to raise them yet, but once interest rates start to go up, that's squeezing the bank's profit margin, right? So now banks with the C word, right? So now the C word, you have less people going into banks. Well, that's how we sell people when you come into the bank. So you have less traffic, you have less access to people. So banks right now, what they're doing is they're switching to, I guarantee you, they're switching to custody or cryptocurrency. They're going to be holding your CBDC, and they're going to be customer service banks. The banks that can operate quickest and most efficiently, we won't even know XRP's running in the background, in my opinion. They're going to be the best. Whoever's the best at marketing and customer service is going to survive this. I believe the small banks are really, it's kind of like the mom and pop companies for us as consumers, or so like they're going to get wiped out. Amazon, Walmart's going to be here, all these little small mom and pop, and then the smaller banks, I believe, are going to get wiped out, and they're going to get gobbled up by the big corporations like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, the ones that have the ability to switch to technology. If I was a smaller bank, I'd be getting up and running with XRP right now. I'd be like getting distributed ledger technology. And the reason why is because they can get you on the cloud system in 2 weeks. They can have a bank up and running on this system in 2 weeks. So that's why I'm so bullish on XRP. And XRP to me is the only system that has the ability to run the global currency across the rails. So, so the China narrative is kind of switched for me, because I don't know if you've been studying the Evergrande thing that's happening right now. So I was really, their GDP was in the best shape, but now that's 30% of their GDP is at risk. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, we're in big trouble, man, as a globe. Or this is by design to move us into the new financial system. So
Yeah, it's all like, it's so hard to be putting your finger on anything specifically at the minute, because there's so many conflicting things that could come from this. Like, I'm 90, foolishly or not, like at the minute I'm like 99.7% XRP. My portfolio has been that way because just from like risk to reward from the start of the bull run, I had like 40 different cryptos, sold out of profits, cycled it into XRP for the move towards the end, because I do believe, similarly to you, that long term, like, I'm holding something that could change our financial future, but short term, I want to ride that speculation at least to 65% of my portfolio to create some capital to then start again. That's been my plan. So, along that line, then, do you think America is further ahead with CBDCs and crypto regulation than we think, and it's all like a bit of a show, or do you think that they are showing exactly what their hand is?
No, it's a show. We're watching a theater. We're all just little people sitting we got our popcorn and stuff. We have no idea what we're watching. Like, so I always think of the Wizard of Oz. I think movies always share with us. So we're going down the yellow brick road, and we think there's this big wizard behind the curtain. We pull it back, and it's this little tiny guy, Gary Gensler, sitting back there. But anyway, let me share with you what's happening right now. So we know the moves that are being made, right? Brian Brooks left the head legal counsel for Coinbase to become the head of the OCC for a very short amount of time, allowed federally chartered banks to custody crypto. Okay. Then you got Jay Clayton 2 days before he throws out the SEC lawsuit against Ripple. One River Capital raised their position in Bitcoin and Ethereum by 600 million, right? He throws that out. He leaves. Next thing you know, he's consulting for them, right? You got Bill Hinman, who's in the Andreessen Horowitz, $2.2 billion crypto fund. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. I believe the XRP case is to bring in a new Howey test. I did a video just recently on my YouTube channel where I looked at the 43 cases that have been thrown out by the SEC since 2013. I did a sample on my YouTube channel of 7 of them. Most of them are for securities. Most of them are for securities fraud, right? We clearly know that the SEC against Ripple case is not security fraud, right? This case could have been settled a long time ago. The average case goes about 343 days. And for some reason, at December 1st, we're going to go past the 343 days for this case, right? So why is it dragging out this long? They're dragging it out because they're holding XRP down. They're suppressing the price. They're going to use it right at the back end when they pack their bags to bring out the new regulation or the new Howey test so they can regulate cryptocurrencies. They're going to say that it's a currency, everything's good to go, and then they're going to go after all the bad actors. And they're going to try to shut down all these ICOs, all these rug pulls, and all that type of stuff. So, I mean, the reason why I know it's by design, and, this is my opinion, of course, I was in banking, man. I got to go through a banking scandal. I got to see how that shit. So, fun fact, I've been bringing this up. I was in fake news. That was another thing that happened. I literally was in fake news in the New York Times. It's really interesting to be in fake news. And I was an executive and was in fake news, and I'm like, wow, you guys don't give a shit about us. Like, you literally are they were literally pushing us out and saying we were taking the heat for them. And I'm like, this is fake. Like, this is fake. I have proof this is fake. I wasn't even there. And they're like, just don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. And so I'm like, no, because they know what's going on behind the scenes, man. The things that were happening at the bank, like, everybody was protecting each other. Everybody was taking care of each other. All the higher ups were taking care of each other. They were just making sure. And then if one didn't take care of the other, or somebody got in trouble, it was like everybody moved directions to try to protect themselves. And so they're doing the exact same thing, in my opinion, at the SEC level. All they're trying to do is get their bags packed. They're making sure all their buddies are all set, ready to go. You got your bags packed. You got your bags packed. You ready to go? All right, hit the switch. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I love Brad Garlinghouse. I love XRP. I don't love any of them. I shouldn't say that. I really appreciate the way they run their company. I think it's a very well-run company. I think Brad Garlinghouse is involved in it as well. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, like some things that don't add up to me. I feel like we're going to overrun here, so I'm going to try and keep this as short as I can. Some things that I don't think add up are like, we know from Brad Garlinghouse interviews that he's been in meetings with like government officials, military officials in like 2008, and yet at the time he wasn't at Ripple, but they were talking about Bitcoin back then. So you think that he's not got some kind of insider information, he's not got connections from there. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to skip through a few questions because we don't have too many left. So yeah, we'll go to what advice would you give to new people entering the crypto market at this point?
Oh, great question. So you're as you're coming to the crypto market right now.
I mean,
you're buying the tops, right? You're starting to buy the tops of some cryptocurrencies. Don't expect to become a millionaire overnight if you're coming in right now. What I would do is just learn how to be a fundamental investor. I think for anybody in crypto, learn how to be a fundamental investor. I would dollar cost average into the cryptos that you feel really comfortable about, that you understand. And as you go into the bear market, your job would be to accumulate as many coins as you can, like Pac-Man. Like, it's like, try to get as many coins. That's what I did in the bear market. It was like dips I bought. I always worried about how many coins I had, right? So I'd buy the dips in the fundamental cryptos and that's how I built my XRP. One thing I would really, really focus on if you're a brand new crypto investor, find a YouTuber, find some sort of source that you really believe and align with, and stick with that one. Do not jump from crypto person to crypto person. Don't try to get rich quick, because this is not a get rich quick thing. This is a get rich for sure by doing it correctly. And also too, like, make sure if you get into the crypto space now, like, pull profits, always pull profits. Like, if you see a cryptocurrency double, like, everybody, the thing is, even in like investing, like the stuff that's happening with, like, I'll give, and I'm not pumping Shiba, please no, as well. I have a shit coin portfolio. And so like, I got into Shiba early, I got into Doge early. And as soon as I double my investment, I get out. I take I take the amount of money I put in, I always take it out right away. So my whole crypto portfolio is completely house money. So every single thing I have, I've pulled my initial investment back. Okay. So pull your initial investment out, put that on the sidelines, right? Run on house money, and then buy fundamental cryptos. That's one thing I'm really warning people on my channel is, like, really focus on fundamental cryptos and ones that are going to be here, right? So if you're going to get into these riskier assets, like, make sure you get your profits out pretty quickly. So yeah, that's one thing I'm warning people that are coming to my academy. I'm like, you're buying the tops right now. Mm-hmm. So don't expect to become a millionaire overnight. I think that's what happened in May. Like, everybody came in because it was booming, and then everybody's portfolio was cut in half.
Yeah, and you can see it in Google Trends, even if you want to have an easy search for who's looking into crypto. So along that line, you just said, find an influencer that you like. So I just wanted to say along that line is, my advice on that specific topic would be to look into people who aren't just trying to shill you a coin. They're trying to talk to you about what's going on behind the scenes. Even if they don't have the best understanding, follow people, because they will learn more and they can give you that information. Just follow people who aren't trying to sell you something. They're trying to give you information. So on that, there's a question to you. Which crypto influencers or people on YouTube do you follow, and would you recommend for my audience to follow?
Of course, absolutely you. And then I would go into the people that I know, like, and trust, and actually build relationships with is the Bearable Bold and Jordan, his team, Jordan Henry, I think it's Jordan. Yeah, Henry?
Jordan Harry.
Jordan Harry. I always call him Henry. I called him Henry on his channel too. Like, Harry. So him and Variable Bull, they're amazing human beings. First of all, I love the digital asset investor. He's one of my favorite blockchain backer. And then I'm trying to think, those are the only people I really listen to. And honestly, at this point, or I did listen to, honestly, at this point, I know this might sound weird. I just stay focused with my team. That's all I do. I don't watch a lot of YouTubers because what it does is it messes with my brain. Like if I hear somebody talk about a project, it pulls me outside of what my mission and purpose is. And so just to share with you what my mission and purpose is exactly what you said. My job and role as the CEO of the Warrior Academy and a crypto influencer, I guess, is to bring really good information to people to make informed decisions. That's all my job is, to non-biased information from what the knowledge that I have as a banker, so they can make good informed decisions. So I try to stay away from, I'm sure you get the same thing. I get approached by projects. I get approached by any company that I'm invested in. It's like, I'm invested in what we're doing. Right. And so, I could be shilling all the companies I'm invested in right now, but that's not what I'm here to do. Like, I've built myself up outside of my academy so I can make good decisions for my academy. So those are people I started my career watching the Variable Bull. That's how I started I was like, I like this guy a lot, man. I really like him. We've become friends. We talk on a weekly basis. He's a good human being, man. He's just a good, solid human being. So those are people I look up to.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Variable Bull, and I keep trying to get him on my podcast, and I will get him soon. I'll get him.
You will. So, and he sounds okay. Just one thing too. People are like, does he talk the same way? He sounds the same. And we talk to him in person. I've never seen him. I still haven't.
Maybe you have. Maybe he turns up to your Warrior Academy every day. Maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick one of the questions from our community because we don't have time. Then a quick speed run, and I'll be out of your hair. I'm sorry about that. So
no, I have plenty of time.
We'll go for. This is a funny question then from New Top Pokemon. He says, "What shampoo and conditioner do you use?"
Oh my gosh, what? I don't even know, man. It's I don't even know the name of it, man. How funny. I'm like a guy's guy, man. I'm like, I have no idea what it is. It's like some shitty brand. I don't know. I don't even know what it's called, man, to be honest with you. It smells good. But one thing is that I wash my hair every third day. Just so you know, I wash my hair because my hair is thinning on top.
Yeah.
So I wash it every third day, and then I only condition the ends, and I get my beard trimmed once a month.
Awesome. Yeah. So quick speed round then, just to finish it off. So favorite drink, Pepsi or Coke?
I don't drink soda.
Okay, so favorite drink then. Let's go for a favorite drink.
Favorite drink would be probably black coffee.
Black coffee, cool.
Yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Neither.
Favorite sport?
Dog if I had to.
It's not going well. Favorite sport? I know you don't like sport that much, so probably weightlifting, I guess.
I'd say UFC.
UFC, nice.
Yeah.
Lucky number?
444.
444. Favorite hobby outside of everything that you normally talk about?
My favorite hobby? Bodybuilding. Love lifting weights.
Favorite song?
Oh, Kevin Gates. Kevin Gates. Am I saying his name right? Kevin Gates. Push It.
Okay.
Push It.
Favorite film?
Rocky, for sure.
Rocky.
That's just 100%.
Adventure or relaxation?
Adventure all day.
Do you believe in aliens?
I do. I think I am one.
And just to finish off the podcast, I don't know if you'll have one, but do you have a joke that you can tell to people?
Oh my gosh.
It's hard on the spot, I know, but
my brain is so weird. It doesn't work that way. I don't. So no, I don't. I'm sorry. The joke is that, my brain my brain is weird. It's like I have a weird brain. I love my brain. It's like my brain doesn't remember movies. It doesn't remember jokes. It doesn't remember. It's like it's very specific on what it remembers.
The things that really focus you.
It's very focused on what I'm. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, no.
People remember quotes from movies and stuff like that. My brain just doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
so I'm sorry.
Just to finish this off, then, could you talk to us a little bit about your Warriors Academy, where they can find you, these sorts of bits of information?
Yep, absolutely. So if you go to 3twarrioracademy.com, and so you can find me, just type in Coach JV on Google. You'll find my podcast. We have a podcast. We have a YouTube channel, TikTok. We have our Warrior Academy. And so Warrior Academy is remarkable. It's subconscious mind programming goal. Basically, imagine just getting your shit together in every aspect of your life. Basically, the Warrior Academy, the 120-day challenge, is how I how I became me. And what if you want to be like this? I don't know if you want to, but this is exactly how I became. It's the exact model I use to get my shit together and my great awakening to leave corporate America. And so, yeah, and I'm grateful, man. I'm really grateful to be here with you. I think it's really cool that it happened when it was supposed to, right? So
yeah, and I really appreciate your time, and I will put all your links in the description. I'll send you a message on Instagram to make sure I've got everything. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, everyone. This is Coach JV. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we get to link up again soon. And until then, have a great day. Okay.
Yes, Warriors. Get your shit together. Let's go.
Thank you. See you later.
Awesome, brother.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon, man.
Bye-bye.